How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Good Mix Podcast, episode 3. Today, we're going to be recapping week 2 of the NFL as well as college football week 3, and then going over week 3 of the NFL and week 4 of college football. This is a sports podcast hosted by myself, Jackson, along me with my co-host Hunter Seal. Hunter, how are you feeling about this college football season as well as NFL going on?
Man, it feels great outside. I don't know about over there in Houston, but fall has made its way to Louisiana. And I don't know, there's just a new energy about being able to watch games outside without sweating, firing up the smoker, maybe sipping on a little Oktoberfest, um, most underrated holiday on earth. I don't know. I love this time of year. Hockey's on. You can be outside for most of the day and feel comfortable. So it's going to be a great day of college football today. We got some stuff that actually just kicked off. Mississippi State, LSU. Yeah, there's some good games on today.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some real time picks, but I assure you, we wrote them down before. So, a quick recap from last week: we had Alabama at Florida. Alabama kind of squeezed one out against them. Uh, let's see, we had Clemson with a barn burner against Georgia Tech, winning by 6 points, really showing them what they're made of. Cincinnati was a team that I was kind of worried about. They kind of pulled one out late against Indiana. And another team that I was high on, my lock of the week actually last week, was Michigan State. They just kind of put the hammer down on Miami. What games from last week were you really surprised in?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see some teams get exposed in some areas that, they could hide from early on in the season. I think Florida played a really good game. I think Dan Mullen coached a really good game down at the Swamp. And Alabama fans, it's crazy if you have heard anything this week. They're treating that 2 point win over Florida like a loss. I literally think every Alabama fan bets on the game, and if they don't cover the spread, then they think they lose. It's interesting.
Yeah, I
There's
mean
been the
that's one of those
comparison of,
games that
go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one of those games that I feel like as an Alabama team with a lot of promise. I mean, you're ranked number one, but you almost won a close game to kind of get your team, a little bit worried. You know, it gives Nick Saban a lot of content to coach up on and make sure the team's ready for the next week.
Yeah, and I think they're forgetting they have a young quarterback, Bryce Young, that's never played in that kind of environment. So for him to go in there and get a win, like, I don't believe in moral victories, and there wasn't a moral victory, but you actually won the game. So Alabama fans, I mean, be happy. You beat a tough SEC road opponent early in the season, so
Yeah,
you're fine.
especially in the swamp. I mean, that atmosphere is absolutely insane. Another atmosphere that another SEC team went into was the whiteout game in Happy Valley. Uh, Auburn. I mean, I think both of us were kind of concerned about this game, not really sure how it's going to play out. I was fairly surprised in some of the things Auburn did, but all in all, I think Penn State's a solid team, and we just couldn't overcome some of the mistakes we were making. But I think it's a good game to build on. You know, Brian Harson's like, I'm not giving out game balls or player of the week and a loss. You know, we got stuff to do. We got to work on some stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get to that game later on in this episode, but I think at the very bottom, Auburn got outcoached in every facet of that game, and I will gripe about that here in a little bit.
I got
Another
you.
thing we saw last week, a continuing trend throughout the season right now, is that the ACC is absolutely abysmal. The ACC is horrible.
It's the worst. I mean, I was just looking at the standings for this upcoming week, and we got Wake Forest, a team that you're pretty high on. They're leading the ACC right now, along with Virginia Tech, and it seems like they're just completely in disarray. I mean, we saw it on game day this morning that Herb Street was absolutely ripping Miami for the performances they put out. And then you got Clemson, who's not really sure what they're doing this year. It seems like, and they play NC State at NC State, and NC State has surprised some people in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's a game to watch today. NC State has been playing Clemson pretty close for the last couple of years when Clemson has had some firepower. Um, and it looks like DJU is just not getting it done from the quarterback position over there. So look out today for a veteran NC State team. I would not be surprised if Clemson goes down today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a trap game for them. I mean, they got to put up some offense, and they just haven't been able to do that in the past couple games. Just kind of wanted to quickly switch over to some of the recap from the NFL. Monday Night Football. Rodgers is back against the Lions. Definitely tore it up there. We've got I think a decent team in the Lions, albeit it's the Lions franchise and they're just a dumpster fire, but it looks like Dan Campbell has that team kind of fighting to just make it interesting. And we saw that in the first half, but in the second half, Rodgers kind of put it away, and Aaron Jones with a 4 touchdown performance was absolutely exhilarating. So, the other teams that played this week, we had Tyrod Taylor go down. With the Texans, but they played the Panthers on Thursday night. McCaffrey went down. We're seeing a lot of injuries just continue to persist with McCaffrey. If he's too explosive for his own good, and we had J.C. Horn go down for them as well. The number one pick that the Panthers got for this past year. It's going to be interesting if Darnold can lead the Panthers to or continue to lead that hot start.
Yeah, and I'm not real hot on Darnold. I didn't think he was that great coming out of USC, but everybody else built him up. We saw what he did at the Jets, and there was talk that he just didn't fit the Jets system. It wasn't set up well, and it was just kind of a hasty pick. But I don't know. And then back to the Green Bay game. I want to say this. I think the Packers versus Saints game week 1 was a fluke on both ends. I think Green Bay played the worst game they're going to play all season, and I think Jameis Winston helped the Saints play the best game they're going to play all season. Packers look like the Packers again, and Jameis looks like Jameis again right now.
Absolutely. It was funny just seeing the complete switch for both of those teams. But Manning Night Football continued to get their ratings up. They doubled their ratings from last week, and they had a couple more guests show up. We had Pat McAfee show up in the fourth quarter, kind of bring some juice to a boring fourth quarter. But I love watching it, and I think for anyone who's interested in football, continue to watch it, and you're just going to be able to soak up so much information from what Eli and Peyton are bringing.
Yeah, I think I might have said it before. You realize like just how intelligent you have to be to play quarterback in the NFL. If you sit there and listen to these two guys, they're calling out coverages before the defense even gets out of the huddle. It's fun to watch if you're a fan of football.
Yeah, especially if you're not the most athletic quarterback out there, and they kind of talked about it was just their the ability that Lamar Jackson has just running all around, and he's got the arm talent, but you don't have to be a Lamar Jackson to be a good quarterback, or you don't need to be super cerebral. Now it's kind of swapped to a bit of both, and we're seeing that with now the emergence of Justin Fields. Hopefully he can be a beacon up in Chicago. Now that he's been named a starter for Week 3 as Andy Dalton goes down.
Yeah, we'll see how he handles that pressure. It seems that all the fans are backing Justin Fields. I mean, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you gotta like the position that you're in right now with that guy leading your offense. But we will see.
Yeah, even if you have to go to the to Cleveland this weekend, that's going to be an interesting game. But another recap from this past week is the Bills. Your Bills, man, they tore it up down in Miami. I mean,
They look
they
good.
showed them who's boss.
Yeah, I thought Josh Allen had a really good game. I thought Stephon Diggs performed well. And then, anytime you can shut out anybody in the NFL, I don't care if it's the Lions or, whoever, Jacksonville, when you can shut out a team for 4 quarters in the NFL, that's a big deal. So I thought the Bills secondary looked good. Just a good team win down there in Miami. And then, the news with Tua going down. Feel bad for that guy. I feel like he can't catch a break. It's always these nagging injuries that just, I don't know, take the juice out of the whole team when your quarterback goes down like he did.
Yeah, it's so weird to see a quarterback who had he's a decent quarterback. He just keeps getting unlucky with all these injuries, and now Jacoby Brissett, he comes in. He a couple years ago came in once Andrew Luck decided to retire out of nowhere, like 9 days before the season, and Jacoby came in and led the team to a decent season, and then followed it up with a pretty stellar performance. Before he got his leg injured, so that Miami team, Brian Flores is still leading a good team down there, but the Bills, I mean, I was a little worried at game one for the Bills, but now I think they're back in stride, and we'll see how they perform in week three. So I know you're pretty excited about that game, but another team that's kind of surprising us this year is the Raiders. They had a pretty good performance last weekend. Another team that you kind of noted here is the Cowboys. I
Yeah.
know they lost a close one to the Bucks week one, but how do you see them going forward?
I watched something this week. It might have been First Take. I don't know what it was. Anyway, Stephen A was, given the question, does Pittsburgh look better than the Cowboys right now, or do the Cowboys look like they're gonna win more games than the Steelers right now? And this is from Stephen A. himself. He said the Cowboys look better right now, but he's banking on the Cowboys being the Cowboys, meaning that it's not gonna be maintained. I think the Cowboys are good right now, and no one has been able to say that in a really long time. I think you get the 1-2 punch from Zeke and Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard's looking real good right now. So we'll see how the Cowboys continue to do, but they're kind of the surprise right now.
Yeah, especially with the in conference game coming up against the Eagles, that'll be really interesting to see how Dak performs, and just like this home stretch that they've got. Can Zeke actually provide any kind of ground support, or are they just going to rely on Dak's arm? But just quickly wanted to switch over to the biggest arm in the NFL, arguably. Uh, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, they battle it out in prime time. I thought this game, the the Chiefs were up 11, and I think going into the fourth quarter, and I just saw, like, I was watching this game and just saw so much energy from the Ravens and Lamar. I mean, it seemed like you couldn't stop him. And the Chiefs are so good at just turning it on whenever they want. They can score whenever they want, but unless you keep the ball from them, that's it seems like the only way to beat them. And then just have like a once in a generation talent in Lamar.
Yeah, watching that game felt like watching, two high school teams play on a 50-yard field in somebody's backyard. It was just, I don't know. It was wild. There were crazy plays being made. The Lamar jump pass where he's pretty much like a foot off the ground with his hips turned towards his own sideline and looks up and finds a guy and just heaves it. That was a really fun game to watch. I think that lived up to the hype. I think we'll end up seeing maybe Baltimore and Kansas City play again this year. But that was a fun game. That was a fun primetime game to watch. Like you said, two
Yeah,
generational talents playing against each other.
yeah. I mean, I watched that jump pass, and it just like that's the worst form you could have for for a quarterback. He was just making it up, but I mean, that's what both of those QBs do, and they're very good at it. I was very surprised, and I could have seen this game going two different ways. You see Harbaugh kind of yelling at Lamar on that 4th and 1. Hey, Lamar, do you want to go for this? Do you want to go for this? And if they don't if they don't convert on that 4th down, then you give the Chiefs 45 or 30 something seconds in a shorter field, or you could kick it. You could punt it and still give them like 30 seconds in a whole field. So I feel like either way, the Chiefs are going to score somehow, and it's a 2-point game. They've got a great kicker, so that I think was the right decision. I mean, obviously now that they've won the game, but I think it's so cool to see the trust that Harbaugh has with Lamar and that relationship. I mean, that's if you're a QB in the NFL, that's what you want ideally, right?
Yeah, and I think just if you're a fan of football, to see a head coach who, a successful head coach, to put trust in your, slightly young quarterback and just have that conversation in real time of like, hey man, like what do you want to do? You're leading this team, you're on the field, I'm not. What do you want to do? And like you said, just trusting in that guy, trusting in your team, and making it happen. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that relationship's been kindling for a couple years. There was the soundbite that Harbaugh had Lamar on the sidelines and says, "You're going to be a really special player. Kids are going to be looking up to you." So even at a really young age, he could see that, and we're definitely seeing the fruits of that now. Um, so look for the Ravens to continue this hot streak, and I'm excited to see them. I mean, Mahomes and the Chiefs, they'll be fine. I mean, you can't win every game, but when it matters, they're going to make it. They're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, well, I kind of quickly wanted to go into the matchups for this week. To start off, we've got the Bears at the Browns. Browns are getting 7 or sorry, the Bears are getting 7 against the Browns. I know that Fields is starting this game. It's an away game, but it's in Ohio. How do you see this game kind of playing out?
I think you were right the first time. I think it's the Browns getting 7. I don't know. Is Baker's shoulder 100%? We don't find out until he takes the field. I think if Fields can go to Cleveland and give the Bears a win, it's going to give the Bears a lot of energy, a lot of momentum. You've got Jarvis Landry on IR for 3 weeks. How banged up are the Browns? I think they said OBJ might be back for this game. I think this is a fun game. I saw this thing earlier this week talking about the Bermuda Triangle of the NFL, between Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Detroit, and just there's nothing there. There's no trophy. There's no championship. So yeah, I mean, I think the Bears have a great opportunity. We'll see how Fields does on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think you almost have to bring OBJ back now that Landry's out on the IR for 3 weeks. It is interesting to note that they've kind of changed the rule for the IR that it is a minimum of 3 weeks. So the IR used to be, I think, at least 6 to 9 weeks out, but they've lessened that now that uh, uh, medical attention has kind of increased in the past couple of years, and they feel like you can come back a lot sooner. Um, another another guy who is seemingly throwing his body around is Carson Wentz. Man, he cracks me up. He's just like going around and throwing his body into these tackles. He sprained both of his ankles. He played against Aaron Donald last week, and just seemed to have him wrapped around his body. I I mean, it seems like he's the Black Knight from Monty Python, just no limbs out there, just wanting to continue to fight out there. But
If he keeps it up, he's gonna have no limbs. I feel like
yeah,
he goes home. Carson Wentz just goes home and watches Cam Newton film and just tries to reenact everything he sees. And somebody
yeah,
needs to tell him that he's not Cam Newton.
yeah. And I mean, Tennessee is pretty hot after this last week's game against the Seattle Seahawks. They had a pretty big comeback, and Derrick Henry rushed for about 1,000 yards. It seemed. I mean, uh, that's the bread and butter for the Titans right now. And
Yeah,
I think the go ahead.
Derrick Henry is an absolute animal, and we've known that. That's not breaking news or anything. We joked earlier this week. Derrick Henry is like one of the inflatable things outside of a car dealership that just every time you think it's going down, it just pops right back up. And Derrick Henry, he does not go down on that first tackle. So if you're the Titans, you've got to trust in your run game against the Colts. That's a weaker defense. I think Derrick Henry has another huge game, in Tennessee. I think Tennessee covers. That line is 5 right now. Yeah, I got Tennessee by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I mean, Derrick Henry, that's what. Gosh, what's his name? I mean, the coach, the coach for the Titans. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he had a T-shirt that just said, "Give Derrick Henry the ball." Like, just give him the ball. I mean, they did have a touchdown taken away for Julio Jones. I don't see how you don't count that as a touchdown. I mean, he was clearly in. But yeah, I agree with you on this one. I don't know if the Colts defense is there yet, even though they had a pretty strong year last year. They've kind of surprised me. Is I think Wentz is like a game time decision for this one, and I don't know if that really matters.
Yeah, didn't
So they've
he went
got
out
Brett
with 2
Hundley.
sprained ankles, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, the last report I saw, he's still practicing. So I guess he just refuses
Gosh,
to go down.
he's trying
he,
to be
he
Derrick Henry
refuses.
out there.
Yeah. Oh man.
Bless
Well,
him.
yeah. So the next game we've got is the Chargers at the Chiefs. Chiefs minus 6.5. I think I mean, the Chiefs can score on just about anyone, but you've noted here that the Chargers defense is pretty good this year, and it's really, I think, if the Chargers offense can really keep up with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I sometimes I get carried away with how do you contain or deal with Mahomes, and you can't. There's not a game plan to keep that guy under wraps. He's going to do what he does and make big plays. So I think it just comes down to game plan. Are you gonna play zone? Are you gonna play man most of the game and try to get a couple of guys stunting to get home on Patrick Mahomes and make something happen? I don't know. Let's see. That's Kansas City 6.5. I don't know. I think maybe Kansas City by a field goal. The Chargers D's gotta come to play. That should be a good one.
Yeah, even if Joey Bosa's out or questionable right now, Frank Clark on the Kansas City Chiefs defense, a big part of that defense is doubtful, as well as Chris Jones. So I don't know. Maybe Justin Herbert can put up some big numbers against them. It's just a matter of if they can keep up. Another offense that seems like they had a strong start, but then they started sputtering. Saints at the Patriots. Patriots favored by 3. I think Mac Jones is kind of getting comfortable with his spot at leading the Patriots. But I mean, who do you like quarterback wise in this matchup? Two guys that are in new systems that seem that they've got to continually settle into these offenses.
Yeah, I think I like Mac Jones over Jameis, just strictly based on performance thus far. Like I said earlier, I think that first New Orleans Packers game, I think that was a fluke game. I really do. I don't think Jameis
Yeah,
can continue to perform like that, despite, LASIK surgery or whatever. Pats have a decent secondary. I think they could cause some problems for Jameis, especially if the Saints get down, two scores early in that game. I think they go into panic mode and they put the game on Jameis, and I don't think he gets it done. New England's a 3-point favorite at home. That that sounds weird that they're only a 3-point favorite at home. I have the question in our notes here. When's the last time that they were only a 3-point favorite at home? I don't know the answer to that. I can get that here shortly, but I don't know. I could see that being a very boring game, low scoring. Um, we'll see what happens.
absolutely. And the note they've got on ESPN, this is this first Saints and Pats matchup without Breeze or Brady since 2005. And that's so crazy to think that for 16 years they've had the same quarterback playing those matchups. But we mentioned Brady. He takes on the Rams this weekend. Tampa Bay is favored by a point and a half. I think these there's so many star-studded. Stars on both sides of the of this game. You've got Jalen Ramsey, you got Aaron Donald leading the Rams, but you've also got just everyone coming back from the Bucks. How do you see this game playing out? I like Stafford and how he's kind of molding with McVay's offense, but then you have everyone coming back for the Bucks, and Brady is on fire this year.
Yeah, Brady's thrown 9 touchdowns through the first 2 games. At like, how old is he? 60. That's
He's at
insane.
least 65, I think.
Yeah, he eats for free at Piccadilly every Saturday. That's how old he is. Um, I mean, the guy, he gets better with age. It's crazy. But like you're saying, the Rams defense. You got the home crowd for the Rams. I think I like the Rams to win outright. Tampa's a 1.5-point favorite. I think that's a field goal fourth quarter for the Rams to win. We'll see if Brady gets it done. Um, I don't know. There's no way he throws another 4 touchdowns.
No,
That'd be crazy numbers.
especially against the against the Rams. I mean, that's just insane. But they've got some hot receivers on both sides, so it'll be interesting how that plays out. We've got the Monday Night Football matchup: the Eagles at the Cowboys. Dallas is favored by 4. We mentioned earlier that Dak. They seem like they're relying heavily on him, but Zeke, is he going to show up and do something, or is he just going to collect his paycheck and move on?
Yeah, I've got it in our notes here. Is Zeke losing that premier status running back label? Tony Pollard looks real good, real shifty right now, where Zeke's just kind of more of your little bowling ball guy that can make people miss at times. I think this is a statement game. Dallas can prove that the Cowboys are in fact good this year. This is a primetime game against Philly. On the other side, you've got Jalen Hurts playing really well right now. Um, I don't know. Dallas by 4. That seems like a lot. It seems like, the Cowboys have never won a game in recent memory against a worthy opponent by, a touchdown. Um, I think that's a fun game. I can't wait to just see Manning Night Football break down Dak's play and also Jalen. That should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it'll be a really good game to watch. I mean, just like you mentioned, the Manning Night Football, they added a whole other facet to the game. Even if it's not the most entertaining game, they just the amount of knowledge they're spreading uh, is just so great to listen in and see what they're thinking about. Um, so quickly switch over to the college football news. We mentioned earlier in the show ACC's dumpster fire. I mean,
Does
does anyone want to
anyone want to
win?
win the ACC?
Yeah, I mean it's up for grabs. Go ahead.
Anybody out there? Wake Forest?
Yeah,
Is it you? NC State? Is it you? I don't know. Um, we can't say it enough. Clemson looks awful right now, and I think it might have been one of those things where Clemson formed their offensive system around Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, and when those two guys are gone, you have to reinvent the system, and they're not willing to do that. They think that DJU can play that same sort of role that Trevor Lawrence did. However, they don't have a back like ETN, and so they're sputtering offensively right now. Luckily, they have a great defense that is playing a lot more than they should right now because their offense is so bad. So, how long can this Clemson defense keep Clemson relevant before somebody exposes them and they go down? It could happen today against NC State, like we said earlier. And then, we have the statistic here. DJU's completed less than 60% of his passes. That's not what you want out of a quarterback that was supposed to be, the second Trevor Lawrence. And then you got a running back that's entering the transfer portal. Lynn J. Dixon enters the transfer portal, week 3. So I'm not real sure what's going on in Clemson right now, but it doesn't smell good. If they don't get things turned around and turned around quick, Clemson could go down in flames, much like we're seeing Florida State do right now. Let's see what else happened in the ACC. Pitt loses to Western Michigan. I didn't watch that game. Apparently, was that a close game, Jackson? Do you know?
I don't believe so, but I was very surprised that. I mean, even if it is Western Michigan and Pitt, I mean, I was anytime a non-Power Five team beats a Power Five, it is kind of surprising, but they look pretty good. I mean, we joke. I mean, Tim had Western Michigan as his NCAA football on the 360 Xbox 360. He carried them to 14 straight national championships. So maybe they're harnessing that kind of energy. But yeah, I mean this. I have no idea who's going to come out of the ACC. I mean, even if Clemson goes undefeated, I mean, from their first game on, I don't know if they're going to make their way into the to the college football playoff. They've got a long way to go, especially on offense, like you mentioned, DJ Uiagalelei.
Oh, that
He
was
he
that
had
was
so much
beautiful.
promise. Thanks, appreciate it. I practiced it like 6 times before we got on. Man, I was really excited about that. So, and then you have Dabo kind of joking about the whole NIL thing, and he's like, I don't, he's very against it. He doesn't want to have his guys kind of feel like they're professionals, and maybe it's that maybe he's losing it, and he just kind of doesn't want to deal with anyone trying to make any money on his team. So I don't know, man. I'm just surprised at how bad they are. Honestly, uh, you don't see that kind of drop off unless something else is happening in
Yeah,
your locker room.
unless you're Auburn with Gene Chizik after you win the national championship.
Yeah, yeah.
Another two teams in the ACC that are, I don't even know. I don't even have a word for Florida State and Miami right now, other than just scary movie. Manny Diaz. get it together, dude. That team, if you're Miami, you have to have talent. Miami's not a large, I believe Miami's a private university. Um, and you've got, Dade County High School down there, which we used to call Auburn Junior College because all of Auburn's defensive backs came out of Dade County. There's talent on that Miami team, and they're doing nothing with it right now. Florida State, I'm not even going to say anything. I have in our notes that Alabama fans, if y'all remember the Mike years, this is a lot of what that looks like for Miami and Florida State right now. We
Yeah, it
made the
just seems
joke.
like they got to rebuild.
Yeah, they got to do something, and I don't know what that is right now. I don't know if it's a coaching change or what. Like we said earlier, I joked last week that Wake Forest could win the ACC, and that's becoming less of a joke right now. Your top four in the ACC right now are Wake Forest, Boston College, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina. And if you would have told me that at the beginning of the season that would be your top four going into week 4 of college football, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah,
But it's the reality that we're in right now.
yeah. I mean, it was golly, they're just all over the place. But you mentioned Miami and the talent that they have on their team, especially with their transfer De'Aaron King and the promise that he had. My lock of the week last week was Sparty going down there and whooping up on the Hurricanes, and they did just that. It was kind of a close game until the Miami Hurricanes just kind of started turning it over, and they just kind of put the hammer down in their run game. So I think Michigan State can continue that hot streak in the Big Ten. We have in the notes that the Big Ten East has 4 teams in the top 20. Um, that is kind of surprising, but if no one else is in the top 20, then someone's got to fill those spots, and it definitely isn't the ACC. So,
Yeah,
I think Big Ten, they're kind of mimicking what the SEC has right now. With so many teams in the top 25. I was just looking at SEC, and outside of everyone uh, in the SEC West is in the top 25 except for LSU and Mississippi State, and they play today. You only have 2 ranked teams in Georgia and Florida in the East, but I it's such a weird year, and I mean, then you have the dumpster fire over at USC, and are they going to fix that, or who kind of comes in and fixes their problems? I don't really know. I mean, they're another team that just,
Dion, baby.
yeah, bring prime time in. I mean, they. I mean, you kind of need a celebrity over there to handle all the egos that go over to USC. It's another team like Miami that just they easily get recruits. They don't have to do that much to get good recruits over there. They're just naturally over there, over in South Beach, and then uh, over at South Carolina, Southern California. It's just if you can't have any excuses with all that talent. I mean, you got to have a coach that can really rally them in and get them on the same page. Otherwise, you're just like we have here. They're a dumpster fire. So that's got to be fixed soon.
Yeah, and you've got a powerhouse high school, modern day, feeding directly into USC. So, like you're saying, when is this talent going to play out? When is USC going to be relevant? It doesn't look good right now. USC is the Florida State of the Pac-12 right now. It looks like they might have turned some things around last week. I don't know. Jackson, let's take some time here. Can we talk about Auburn? Can we
Yeah. What
talk
about
about
them?
last week's game?
Well, I mean, what happened?
Ah,
What did we lose or something? Golly.
Auburn yet again goes into a big game and puts the game on the shoulders of Bo Nix. And I've said
Yeah.
it from the very beginning. I'll say it again. the Oregon game a couple of years ago when it came down to the fourth quarter and the game was put on Bo Nix's shoulders, and he throws an absolutely horrible pass. It looks like a back shoulder fade. It's not a fade. It's just an inaccurate pass. Luckily, he throws it to Seth Williams, who has the catch radius of, one of those blow up guys outside of a car dealership. And he makes a great catch, and Auburn wins the game. And from that point on, Auburn fans and Auburn coaches had this concept that Bo Nix can win big games for Auburn. And so from then on, we put ourselves in these situations where Bo Nix has to go out and win the football game. We completely forget that he's an 18, 19-year-old kid that hasn't played in the SEC yet. And we continue to put him in situations where he has to go win the football game, and it's not working. And I really thought that we weren't going to see that against Penn State because we've got arguably the top two running backs in college football right now. And I thought we ran well against Penn State. And when you get to a 4th and 2 to win the game, what are you doing there? Not running the football. I think if you would have asked any Auburn fan watching that game, what do you do here? They're going to say, hand it to Tank, or at least, fake a handoff or a pitch to Tank and then bootleg it around the outside and give Bo Nix the option to dump it over the top, or run it in himself. But a fade route on 4th and 2 that he throws to the freaking stratosphere, it's just not smart. And I'm kind of going on a rant here, but with the fade route, not a very high percentage play in football. And so I think, what you're trying to do with a fade route is you're either giving your guy and your guy only the opportunity to make a play, or you're getting a pass interference call. And Auburn does not have a receiver right now that is willing to make that play or that can make that play. We're used to having a Seth Williams, a guy that's just going to outbody somebody and fight for that ball. I think we singled out Kobe Hudson for that play. Just a guy that he's not there yet. So, like I said earlier, I think Auburn got outcoached. I thought we definitely got outcoached on the defensive side of the ball. We could not cover a tight end all night. And Sean Clifford has the game of his life against Auburn in the whiteout. So thank you, Penn State, for once again proving that Bo Nix can't get it done as a 3-year starter.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. I just don't see why you rely on Bo when you have statistically two of the top running backs in the nation. You had a running game that was pretty consistent against them, but then every now and then Bo would throw one to the stratosphere. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, that is not even close to our receiver. And, they kept just hitting these over the middle passes and just continually moving the ball. I think it was a very winnable game for us, but we can't only rely on Bo Nix to win us games. I mean, like you said, the Oregon game was kind of a fluke. He threw it 5 yards behind Seth Williams and he just made a play. But that 4th and 2 reminded me a lot of the Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch play in the Super Bowl. I mean, I know college football and definitely the Super Bowl are very different, but it's the same kind of concept. You have a golden child in Bo Nix that you're almost like, it's like every booster for Auburn called Brian Harsin and said, you need to have Bo throw some kind of pass. And, Tank, I think, reportedly was pretty frustrated after that play. Like, how can you not? I get the point of trying to get a pass interference. If you get the pass interference, it resets the downs, and you have 4 tries to get into the end zone. But it's so low percentage that I think you have a way better percentage of just trying to bully your way into the end zone on just a straight dive or something. Get creative, but don't just step back and throw a fade. I know that Bo Nix said he had options on that play, but I I completely disagree with putting the ball in his hands to win the game. You know, you've got Tank who can kind of find a hole in anything. Just get him out there and have him make a play. So I you know, they've got a lot to work on, but I think overall, I like where this team's headed, but they've got to rely less on Bo Nix to carry this team because he just doesn't seem like he has it,
Yeah,
especially with wide receivers that aren't developed yet.
yeah, exactly. And I think silver lining, if I have anything, is that we didn't see a wildcat in 4th and 2 to win the game. Last year, we would have had JJ Pegues lined up at quarterback, probably trying to throw a pop route or a double clutch pass, something insane. But I'm with you. Get creative. Fade, like everybody knows that fade route deal, and like you just said, Bo said he had options. Bo knows where he's going with the ball as soon as it snapped. So that's not an RPO. You're not reading anything. You take the ball. You don't even have a drop back on a fade route on 4th and 2 and into the end zone. You grab the ball and you toss it. So just very very questionable stuff there. But I digress. I could spend all day ripping Auburn apart.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could have a whole episode on that. I mean, especially all of Auburn sports. You know, it's just a product of. I mean, anyone who graduates from any Power Five college, especially in the SEC, is going to have a lot to talk about their team. And you know, two teams that have a lot to talk about this year are Texas A&M and Arkansas. Arkansas's had a very hot start to this year, surprisingly. You know, they had a really good game against Texas and just kind of bullied them out of that game. But Texas A&M, they've got a really strong defense, but they've got a really young QB, and it's their backup QB. Are they going to do anything against Arkansas, who's averaged 40 points this year? It's in Jerry World. You know, Texas A&M and Arkansas usually play really close. So how do you see this game kind of playing out?
Yeah, I this game's interesting. You mentioned it's in Jerry World. This was supposed to be a home at home, and I don't know what wires got crossed, but they're playing in Jerry World again. I think Arkansas has a bad taste in their mouth just about that. Um, I read something this morning. Out of the last 9 times they've played each other, 3 games have gone into overtime. This could be a battle right here. It's a statement game. Can Jimbo prove that Texas A&M belongs where they belong in the top 10, or does Arkansas prove that Sam Pittman, was an amazing hire and that they can get it done? There's a lot riding on this. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a classic Texas A&M Arkansas game. I'd love to see some overtime here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you mentioned Sam Pittman, and that hire. I don't think Arkansas has the best recruits or anything or the most talent, but if you get a coach that can get a team, a team of 18 to 21 year olds to all buy in and really put forth all the effort they can, that's a really strong team. And we've seen that in other lesser teams that have really strong coaches that have kind of surprised people. But I think I mean, my in laws are going to hate me for this, but I think I'm going towards Arkansas in this game. They've continued. I think they'll continue the hot streak, and I may be wrong, but I think they're going to really have a good showing today. I kind of a team that has really surprised me. I mean, they were affiliated with the ACC last year, and this may be why they're kind of shaky to start the year. Being an independent again is Notre Dame. They are going to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's favored by 5.5. This game is at Soldier Field. What do you think about this matchup with Notre Dame, their new QB, and Wisconsin?
Yeah, this one's fun. Jack Cohn, went to Wisconsin for a little while. They interviewed him earlier this week and just said, what are you feeling about playing your old team? And he just said, it's going to be weird, which It's a great, honest answer. It's going to be weird. Um, the line keeps kind of changing here on this game. Right now, it's Wisconsin 5.5. I don't know how, I don't know how valid or how, insightful lines are all the time. I think the nation hates Notre Dame because they can't make up their mind. And, oftentimes Notre Dame runs to the table because they don't play anybody, gets in the college playoff, and then, gets blown up by somebody. Um, Notre Dame, they have a chance though to right the ship this year. They play this game, and then they've got Cincy coming up. I think if they can take down both of those teams, then you've got to start really believing that Notre Dame maybe belongs somewhere up towards the college football playoff. This will be a good one. Wisconsin has been known to lay an egg every once in a while. I think Wisconsin gets it done, though. I like Wisconsin at Soldier Field,
especially game
taking out
day.
Notre Dame.
Game day being there, which kind of surprised me being in Chicago. It seems like I have that matchup wrong, but it is interesting with Notre Dame having this game and then Cincy next week. That's kind of the benefit of being an independent. You can kind of choose whoever you want to play. Definitely putting Cincy on their schedule is a good look to continue and get good games instead of just playing cupcakes throughout the whole year. Clemson now they're going into NC State. We talked about it earlier. I don't think we need to harp on this too much, but the NC State quarterback you have here has almost 800 yards of passing, which that's insane. I mean, I guess they're just a pass happy offense. Clemson they're favored by 10, but NC State's one of those teams that always seems like a trap game, and I feel like they either make it close or they pull one out of like a last second field goal or something.
Yeah, I got no confidence in Clemson, to be honest. I got NC State to cover. Wouldn't be shocked if they went outright, like you said. It's in Raleigh. It's a veteran NC State team with a quarterback that's firing on all cylinders. Give me the Wolfpack, baby.
Ooh, I got you. Well, another team with the hot QB or seemingly hot QB, Oklahoma. They take on West Virginia at home. They're favored by 16.5. I'm not too hot on OU this year. I know 90% of people have picked OU to win, but I feel like they may win, but I think West Virginia at least covers in this game.
Yeah, I like West Virginia. I think Oklahoma and Clemson should just play right now. Let's just go ahead and get that over with, and see if anybody can score. Spencer Rattler streaky. This game's in Norman. 16.5 is that line. That feels like a lot. I like West Virginia to cover. Um, I don't know. I think West Virginia's defense is pretty salty. I think they've caused some problems for Spencer Rattler. Yeah, give me the Mountaineers.
Yeah, and now the line has moved up to 17.5, so something's definitely moving there, but I still like West Virginia to cover. I mean, that West Virginia is kind of a tough team to play. I mean, uh, it'll be a high scoring affair, but I still think West Virginia at least covers. A game that's going on right now, LSU at Mississippi State. Uh, Two teams that are not much of anything this year. LSU's had a weird start. Mississippi State, coached by Mike Leach, they're going to have a weird year every year that he's there. So I don't know how this game plays out. It's gosh. I mean, I I hate both of these teams. So especially being in Mississippi State with the Cowbells, I mean, I would lose my mind if I was there.
Yeah, I a couple of weeks ago was offered an opportunity to go to this game. Um, spare you my exact response, but I mean, why? Why would you want to go to that? Corn dogs versus the cowbells. That game is actually being played right now. It looks like LSU is up 7 in the second quarter. I picked Mississippi State to cover at 3.5. I don't know. We don't really know much about LSU right now, other than the letdown in week 1 against UCLA. Mississippi State got absolutely robbed last week against Memphis. I don't know if you saw that. It was I think it was a punt or a kickoff, and it looks like Mississippi State had downed the ball, and the field judge goes to toss the beanbag and starts waving his hands, and for some reason can't get the whistle in his mouth all the way to blow it. Memphis player comes, picks up the ball, runs for a touchdown, and the whistle never blows. Um, it shouldn't have happened. I think they came out like immediately after the game and were like, "Yeah, we completely missed that." So does Mississippi State play angry? I don't know if Mike Leach gets angry. I don't know if I have an emotion or a word to describe the emotions of Mike Leach. That dude is an enigma. Let's see if he can get that air raid going against a questionable LSU secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I just these calls that some of the refs are making are so questionable, and especially if you have to come out after the game and say, they kind of correct, uh, the call that you made. I mean, we corrected our calls last week. We made it right by firing our intern Kevin, brought in Trevor.
Mm.
So hopefully he can step it up and be the intern that we really need to keep this show going. Um, you know, I think it's time that we enter into the lock of the week. Hunter, what do you have for this week?
Man, I have been going back and forth. I think I'm gonna settle on Michigan State. They're 3.5 point favorite versus Nebraska. I think they absolutely blow Nebraska out of the water. And I think we start talking about, Scott Frost, his next place of employment. Um, Sparty big. Sparty, give me Sparty by 20 against Nebraska.
Oh my God. Well, I mean that run game is pretty stout, and it'll be it'll be over quick, I think. Lock of the week for me. I mentioned it earlier. Texas A&M versus Arkansas. Arkansas is pretty hot. I think I'm gonna have them as a I think I've got them as my lock of the week. Arkansas wins against Texas A&M, even though they've got a very good defense. Uh, a team that's going to surprise a lot of people this year. I this I was pretty questionable when I mentioned Sparty last week, but and I feel the same way this week. But with college football, when you're more or less betting on 18 to 21-year-olds to perform every week with all the stuff they've got going on, something's bound to happen. But I think I like Arkansas in this matchup,
Right on, Pig Suey, baby.
even though I could care less about Arkansas. Honestly, it's just picking a matchup. That's all it is.
One thing that I heard this week, it was on a Feinbaum interview with Sam Pittman, and they were talking about just the success that Arkansas's had already, the big win over Texas. And, Sam Pittman said, that's all fine and good. But what I'm most proud of right now is that I've gotten, or not I, but we've gotten the state and the university excited about football again.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's just a big man statement right there. Arkansas has had just, horrible, horrible showing the past couple of years. So good job, Sam Pittman. If I wasn't an Auburn fan, I might even cheer for you. Arkansas, keep doing what you're doing. Jackson, do you have a shout out of the week, man?
I do. My shout out this week goes to the two tone North Face fleece that we all wore in middle
Ooh.
school. Those things seem to be the talk of the town when you're in middle school. I actually saw someone wearing one the other day, and I thought those were dead about 15 years ago. So, um, you know, I think everyone had one. I'd also say Heelys. Heelys got us
Ooh.
from A to B. I'm gonna go double shout out this week: North Face fleece jackets, the two tone, and the Heelys. Those are my shout outs.
Jackson, do you think there's a picture of you out there rocking the North Face and rocking a pair of Heelys?
I'd have to go back in the archives to find one. I don't know if I actually ever took one, but I will say, I felt so bad looking back because I got a gift one Christmas and it was this awesome jacket, and I should have kept it, but I traded it in to get the North Face fleece, and it definitely wasn't a good trade. So, looking back, probably should have kept the shell and the inner lining jacket that I got. What is your shout out for this week?
Well, it feels like we're on kind of a junior high trend right now with the Heelys and the North Face fleece. So I'm going to throw it back to middle school. Just a song that really encapsulates who I was and what I was about in middle school. An anthem, if you will, "Put On" by Jeezy. Um, I mean, that got the blood going. If you were going out to a seventh grade football game, lining up at wide receiver, and that song, you just start singing it to yourself. I mean, not a chance, not a chance. That's still a good song today. Let's bring that back.
Yeah, we got to bring it back. I mean, put it on in all the stadiums. I mean, if you start out the game with that song, you might as well win by 50. Um, well, if you don't have anything else, I'm gonna actually close out this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like on this video. If you want to listen to previous episodes, the link will be in the description. This has been the Good Mix Podcast, episode 3, hosted by myself, Jackson, as well as my co-host, Hunter Seal. If you'd like to reach the show, you can email us at thegoodmixpod at gmail.com. Come back next week for week 4 and week 5 of NFL and college football. Thanks again for listening, and have a good week.